Good morning. Welcome to this morning service. This is the last service of the summer, our summer schedule. Next week we start our normal schedule, which is our 9:30 Dharma school service, followed by our 10:10 adult English service. So if you show up at 10 o'clock, you'll be late for one, early for the other. So we everything changes next week. Hopefully it'll be a time, and it's also organization day. So there'll be a lot of different groups in the annex building sharing information about the organizations here at the temple. So a lot of stuff going on. There's also going to be at the same time chalk art going on in front of the garden. So if you may have noticed that there are actually two chalk art pieces that Momo-cha, along with Mikame Sensei's help, have drawn onto the area in front of the garden. And there's a space in between the two art pieces. So next week they're going to be filling that last section. So a lot of things will be going on next week. Hopefully you'll be able to join us as we reopen the Bitsing. We'll begin this morning's service. We'll begin with the reading of Sambujo, followed by the reading of Juseige. So if you please join us in the reading of Juseige. Do we do Gatha now? Is that what it was? Gatha now? Gatha at the end. At the end? Okay. Just want to be clear. I don't want to start any new traditions or anything on the last day of Dharma school, of our summer session. If you would please turn to page 8 and join in the reading of the three treasures, please rise. It has this the large service book, page 8. Okay. Hard is it to be born into human life. Now we are living it. Difficult is it to hear the teachings of the Blessed One. Now we hear it. If we do not realize the truth in this life, when will it be realized? Let us reverently take refuge in the three treasures of the truth. I take refuge in the Buddha. May we absorb ourselves in the principle of the way to enlightenment and awaken in ourselves the supreme will. I take refuge in the Dharma. May we be submerged in the depths of the doctrine and gain wisdom as deep as the ocean. I take refuge in the Sangha. May we live in harmony in the great assembly as disciples of Buddha and be freed from all hindrances, becoming units of true accord in a life of harmony, in the spirit of universal oneness, freed from the bondage of selfishness. Even through myriad ages of kalpas, hard is it to hear such an excellent, profound, and wonderful doctrine. Now we are able to hear and receive it. Let us thoroughly understand the true meaning of Tathagata's teaching. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Thank you. Please be seated. Last week I had an opportunity to be a part of a program that was taking place for the first time here in the BCA. And I say that because I'm not sure if it's ever been held anywhere else. So at least I know that it's here in the BCA that this Kyoshi training program took place. And as I mentioned last week, I was a part of that program, and the portion that I was asked to talk about was funerals in our contemporary society. And when we think about Buddhism and its main tenets, one of the main ideas in Buddhism is that everything changes, everything is impermanent, in a constant process of change. And so funerals, of course, are services conducted at the time of a person's death. There are many rituals that, in Jodo Shinshu as well, that are associated with this time of a person dying. One of the first things that has traditionally occurred when a person dies is the Makura-gyo service. So Makura is pillow, Gyo is sutra. So chanting of sutra at the where the person has died. And then the Makura-gyo service, following the Makura-gyo service, sometimes we used to, in the past, have a, what was it called? Yukan kana? Yukan? Yeah. So washing of the body. Actually, many years ago, generations ago, the body was actually washed by the family and prepared for cremation. And this was another separate service that was conducted. And then there was a funeral service, and then following the funeral service, the first seventh day memorial service, and then the memorial services would continue into the future. And these rituals and practices have been a part of our tradition for a long time, but even these practices are also changing. We no longer, here at least, we no longer do yukon where we actually wash the body or prepare the body. And it had already been in kind of a transition. When my father died 60 years ago, I remember clearly my father's body was on a gurney, and there was a sheet draped over his body, and we took water in ladle, special ladle, not like a soup ladle. That would be just kind of, so a special ladle was used to pour water over my father's body, kind of representing this washing of body. So already we were kind of moving away from the actual washing of body, ritualizing it, and expressing that in this practice of pouring water over a body. Previous to that, again, they would actually wash the body in preparation. And it was a way of expressing care, right? It was a way of expressing the importance of this person's life, that you would prepare the body for cremation. And again, we no longer observe this practice of yukon. The Makuragyo service is also kind of changing, although it's closer to what it has been, where a service is conducted shortly after a person's death. Previously, it was felt maybe till about maybe 10 years ago, as soon as a person died, the family would contact the temple, and a minister would go to conduct this pillow service. And it might be in the afternoon, it might be in the middle of the night. The family would immediately call the minister, and the minister would go out to conduct this pillow service. Nowadays, that still is a part of it, but we're often, if a family member who has been under, say, hospice care, or family has a social worker, has been assigned to this person, then they are contacted first. The hospice person or the social worker might be contacted. In a hospital, it's the nurses station that then has people who are assigned to that patient that would then be contacted. And then that person then either contacts the mortuary or the minister. So these kinds of changes that are taking place in these practices or customs that were a part of our tradition for such a long time and continues to be a part of our tradition, but is changing, undergoing change. And the relationship between the temple, the family, and the mortuary is also changing. And so they asked me if I would talk about this a little bit. And so I had an opportunity to share that with them at this training session. And I think the main idea that I wanted to kind of express to the Kyoshi students was that at the time of a death, the family invites the minister to be a part into this very difficult time, to be a part of what they are experiencing. And as a minister, as a priest entering into that, to have that in mind is very important. Sometimes we think, I'm a minister, so I know what I'm doing. That may not be the case. Although we try to have that appearance of knowing what we're doing, sometimes we don't know. And it's better in a sense that we kind of set aside all the assumptions that we have as we enter into this very important yet difficult time. To be able to kind of put aside all of our expectations and what we might assume to be necessary, and simply to be present with the family. And I don't know if that came across very well, but that was what my intent was, to have these Kyoshi students to think about their relationship with a family that is going through this very difficult time. When someone dies, we are reminded of the impermanence of things. We know that everything is in a process of change. The practice of incense burning, at least for here, I like to think of it as a reminder or acknowledgement of the impermanence of things. Not a matter of good or bad, or right or wrong, simply a condition of our lives. Everything is in a process of change. And as we place a pinch of incense in a burner, it doesn't simply disappear, but it changes from its recognizable form into ash and heat. Many changes occur. It reminds us of how everything is impermanent, everything is changing. Sometimes we think of an experience impermanence as something difficult, unhappy, something that we don't want to take place. And certainly those experiences are in a part of our lives. But also, impermanence can bring things that are happy, that bring joy into our lives, that cause us to celebrate. So impermanence is not a matter of good or bad. It's simply a condition of our lives. Everything is changing. One of the things at the core of the teachings of the Buddha is this understanding that the difficulties we cause and experience result from how we engage the world, and that we have a tendency to see the world through our preferences, our likes and dislikes. So I like one thing, I don't like another thing, I want this, I want that. And it's that preference that we have that results in difficulties for ourselves. It's not that we cultivate a mind that is blank, that doesn't care, that is dispassionate, that doesn't get itself involved in controversy. But acknowledging this tendency of ours allows us to maybe see things in a much more inclusive way, to be able to see things not so much as right, wrong, good, bad, black, white, but rather as that these are important, but that these differences are tied together in ways that perhaps we have yet to understand, but that by seeing these things that seem so separate as being a part of each other, that we can begin to maybe soften that boundary that might separate us and offer opportunities for difficulties to arise. So when we think of death, we think of death as opposed to life. And of course, death can't be life, life can't be death. But if we only see life and death, we may push away death and hold on to life, and that's normal. But if we see life and death as a part of this overarching relationship that we share with all life, that everything is in a process of change, that we can maybe find in those times of great difficulties, the death of someone close, we can perhaps find something of importance, of genuineness that we can share, that the grief that we experience is not simply because of the death, but results from the relationship that we have with that person. The life of that person is expressed in that grief and that sadness, which is also the joy of having experienced life with them. Again, Buddhism reminds us of how the difficulties we cause and experience result from the tendency that we have of seeing the world through what we like and what we don't like. And we can see that in the world in which we live, how so many difficulties result from this and that coming into conflict with each other. When we begin to perhaps recognize, acknowledge how these distinctions, this separation of what I like and what I don't like results in difficulties, and that we can begin to see how these are interrelated but not separate, we can begin to understand things like samsara is nirvana. I've talked about this before, but in the Shoshinge, which we often read, there is this line by Shinran that says, a person of Shinjin realizes that samsara, this everyday life, this life in which we experience these difficulties, these challenges, this unhappiness, dissatisfaction, all of that life of birth and death, person of Shinjin realizes that birth and death is nirvana. Not somewhere else, not off in a distance somewhere, but is nirvana. And we experience nirvana as samsara because of the way that we perceive it and that we engage it, that we see that nirvana through the lens again of our preferences, our likes and dislikes, and we experience it. That causes us to experience it as samsara. It's not that suddenly again we now see things clearly because of that. We gradually begin to move towards that understanding and begin to experience the world and engage the world in a way that does not so readily separate things out, but looks for things that interconnect, that support one another, that supports ourselves, and that we can begin to see how our lives are deeply integrated with the world around us, that we're not so separated, or we're not so divided. And sometimes it seems insurmountable, the differences that we see, especially in the world around us. It's so hard to imagine how it could be all the same, not the same, but how it could be all a part of what Buddhism is describing as nirvana. But again, our experience of nirvana is that of samsara because of the way that we engage the world, through our preferences, our likes and dislikes. It's not that, again, we become dispassionate, we throw all of these distinctions away, that we walk around thinking everything is the same. No, we simply acknowledge that these differences result from how I see the world. And that, again, if I can begin to understand that and acknowledge that, we can begin to soften the differences that we might experience in our lives. When we think of all the turmoil that's happening in the world around us, it seems perhaps as though it is insurmountable. But there are opportunities, experiences that affirm the understanding that as we set aside our differences, beginning to acknowledge the life that we share, this interdependence that we have with all life, that we can begin to work through the differences that we experience, the differences that can result in difficulties for ourselves and for others. Today, as we participate in this service, we're comfortable here in this hondo, as we should be, coming to the temple, hearing the teachings, participating in sutra chanting, whether we're capable or we're able to do that or not, but simply kind of follow along and listen. But here in the Hondo, to be able to feel settled, comfortable, welcome, we can carry that out into the world. The differences that we experience are certainly profound, but they are, we can work through them. We can find places that we are, where we can recognize one another simply as individuals that share in this common humanity. When the Kyoshi students, when they go out, and eventually they'll go out into the community as Kyoshi students, there have been those who completed the training last week and who have qualified. They will be certified as teachers, Kyoshi or Jodo Shinshu teachers. Up until that point, they've had a lot of experiences, they share a lot, but once they complete the Kyoshi course and training and are found competent, they will be certified. And once they start teaching Jodo Shinshu, we will listen and we will have an opportunity to hear what they have learned and what they are able to share with us. The differences that we might have is really our willingness to hear, our willingness to listen. And that willingness we can expand into our everyday lives. Today, as we participate in this last service of the summer, it's the last, but certainly we will continue to have opportunities to gather together, to share in the Dharma, to hear other teachers as well, as we reflect upon our own life and our understanding of the teachings of the Buddha. Thank you very much for your participation and kind attention. Will you please join in Gassho and Nembutsu? Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Now, Gatha? Yes? Okay. And I understand we're going to sing I Am a Link, which is on the second page in this colored book. What color is this? Yellow? Okay, thank you very much. It could be green, but on the second page, I'm a link in the golden chain. Will you please rise? I'm a link in the golden chain. Harmony may we all attain. Gentle to all living things, will reunite us all as golden rings. I'm a link in the golden chain. Gratitude may we all attain. Bright and strong my link will grow, through pure will think, and pure and beautiful words I will say, and pure and beautiful deeds I will do for the world and for you, spreading kindness and love every day to all living things that come our way. Amid's chain of love is bright, through peace and love we will see the light. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Thank you. Please be seated. Thank you very much, everyone, for being here and for joining us in this service. Again, this is the last service of the summer for our summer schedule. We will begin our regular schedule on September the 11th, next week, Sunday. Service for Dharma school students will begin at 9:30, and it's kind of like a family service. So if you have children that you would like to have join our Dharma school and would like to be a part of what we do here at the Bitswing, please join us at that time. That's again 9:30 Sunday morning, beginning September the 11th. And then at 10:10 we have our adult English service. And so if you're interested in the Buddha Dharma, if you're interested in participating in services here at the Bitswing, please feel welcome. Please join us for the service, again, beginning next Sunday at 10:10. I think next Sunday, was there Japanese also? So at 11 o'clock, there will be a Japanese language service. So immediately following the adult English service, there will be a Japanese language service here in the Hondo. If you would like to, please come and join us for that. Mikame Sensei has been doing the Japanese language service for us for all this time, and she will continue to conduct that Japanese language service once a month, and next week will be the first in person. We will continue to have Zoom and YouTube stream of these services. So if you still feel more comfortable not coming into large gatherings, you're welcome. Please do plan to join us via our YouTube channel. So next week again, 9:30 Dharma school service, 10:10 adult English service, 11 o'clock Japanese language service. It's also, there's a lot of stuff going on next week. It's also our organization day, and so there will be a lot of organizations that are here in the Betsing that will have materials set out and people there in our annex building to answer any questions you might have about our activities here at the Betsing. And again, also chalk art in front of the garden next week, which would be kind of fun to watch. We've done this twice before, and it's really fun to watch Momo Cha along with Mikame Sensei and others. Well, I don't know how much time Mikame Sensei will have next Sunday, but others helping in the art. Unfortunately, it'll be Momo's last time that she will be able to make one of these chalk art works. So if you do have a chance, please do come and join us for all of the activities that will be opening up at the Betsing. Thank you again. Are there any other announcements, anything else going on? Oh, Michael?
Morning. So starting this coming September the 13th, on Tuesday nights, the second and fourth Tuesday nights, we'll resume our Dharma study class. It will continue to be over Zoom, so we'll meet virtually. I have sent out information to the people who have already told me they're interested. If you're interested, the email address is Dharma Study Class at sjbetsuin.org. Pretty straightforward. Or you can just send an email to the office and they'll send it, forward it on to me as well. We meet at 7 p.m. Again, that's the second and fourth Tuesdays. This fall semester, if you will, we're going to start covering the Sakamoto Shigaraki's book, The Awakening to the Shin Buddhist Path. This book is a very good book and a foundation for Buddhism and for Shin Buddhism. So we'll walk through the book chapter by chapter with discussion. So there's no need to buy the book or read it ahead of time if you don't want to, but you certainly are welcome to. It's an easy book to read, and there's quite a bit of information in it. So we'll have that. One other thing, on September 17th, Saturday the 17th, Officiated, Los Angeles, which is a LGBTQ Asian American organization, is sponsoring a symposium on allyship. So it's an all-day symposium, again, done virtually. I believe it starts at about 10 o'clock in the morning and goes till about 4 in the afternoon. There's multiple sessions, allyship at home, allyship at work, at church, and so on. I'm leading a panel on allyship at work, but there are several panels going on during the day. So you can find it online at Officiated, OKAERI-LA.org, or I'll try to get something out in the email distribution list with the temple as well. Thank you.
Anything else? Again, thank you very much, everyone, for joining us this morning. This concludes this morning's service. Please come forward for Oshoko.